Hello and welcome to another Clay Creator build. Today's model is our version, our key stage 2 version of Harry Potter. Hopefully he'll look something like this towards the end. To build him, obviously we're going to need our scales, we'll need our creator cards, our tools, all our clay, and hopefully if possible you have an airtight container, maybe a lunchbox, Tupperware, something like that to help keep the clay fresh during the build itself. Okay. Before we get started though, I'm going to go over the key facts about Harry. Hopefully there's some new information here that you can use, maybe take it with you along with our activity sheets, word searches and crosswords. You can do that later on. Okay, so fact number 1, all the Harry Potter books were written by J.K. Rowling. Her and Harry share the same birthday, which is the 31st of July. Okay. Fact number 2, the 7 Harry Potter books have sold over 500 million copies since 1997. This is obviously making the Harry Potter the best-selling book series of all time. Fact number 3, if you didn't know, Harry and the students travel to Hogwarts, their school, through a magical entrance at King's Cross Station. This is obviously in London, and as a tribute, at the real train station there is a trolley disappearing into the wall on platform 9 3/4. Okay. Fact number 4, in the books Hogwarts is located somewhere in Scotland. Fact number 5, Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Harry Potter, he went through 160 pairs of the framed glasses he wears during the films, obviously just breaking them during filming. Fact number 6, J.K. Rowling is the first person to become a billionaire from writing books themselves. Okay. Fact number 7, child actors would do their real homework in the Harry Potter movies in an effort to make the school more realistic. So when you see them in the film doing their homework, they're actually doing real work there, so it looks like they're really learning at the school. Okay, and finally, fact number 8, Daniel Radcliffe, he also broke about 80 wands during the filming of the Harry Potter films. Obviously just using them, he'd use them often as a drumstick. So he's broke about 80 sets during all the filming. Okay, so that's all the facts finished, and we'll get started with the build. So let's get started. First measurement, we'll be using our scales, and we're going to work kind of from inside out, working our way up to the top, finishing with the head, finishing with the arms and the wand later on. But I'm just going to move him out of the way for the time being. There's a little bit more room. And we're going to get started with black clay. Okay, so scales on, again, as always, checking that they're at 0, and measuring on the right unit, which is obviously grams, so we should have a little G on our scales. So first measurement is 2.10 or 2.10 grams of black clay. And then when you've got that, remember, obviously, always putting our clay away in the lid, in the pot with our lid on to keep it nice and fresh. Perfect. 2.10. Okay. Once we've got that, we're going to turn this into basically the base. So as always, give it a little stretch, work it in a little bit, roll it into the bowl, get rid of any lumps, bumps, lines. All I'm going to do is gently press that down, nice and even, not too much. And all we're looking for is to get it into roughly the 3 centimeter circle on your creator card. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's not too much of a problem, but it's roughly that sort of measurement. Okay, so we have a disc. Just going to pop that to the side for the time being. Okay, we are then going to move on to his main bulk of his body, and this is going to be a mix of white and black clay, so we're going to make a little bit of grey to start off with. So if you can grab your white clay, check your scales are again at 0, and the measurement this time is going to be 4.80 of white clay. Perfect, okay. And then the measurement of black, again, only small pinch this time, we're only changing it slightly. So we're going to go for 0.20. Again, always checking your scales are back at 0 before you measure. Okay, once you've got that, pop those together, give them a good mix. We should get a nice grey. Now this grey is going to be turned, let's say, hit the bulk of his body. So ideally we don't keep it just as a ball. Again, if you wish to, it's completely fine, it's up to you. Once we've got it, again, fully mixed, roll always back to a ball to start off with. Okay, so all I'm going to do is give it a little bit of kind of length, if that makes sense. So I'm going to pop it onto my work surface. I'm just going to give it a little gentle roll, not pressing too hard. I'm just going to turn it into more of a sausagey kind of shape. It's kind of the same sort of shape as a Kinder egg would be. Not too much. Okay, again, it doesn't need to be too neat. And then it is going to sit on top of the disc that we've already done. Okay, so as you can see now, I'm starting to get a little bit of shape for the base, and it's sitting on top. Okay, don't worry too much about that being too neat right now. We can tidy that up as we go, because we will be building the cloak or Harry's cloak around him, which will mould and kind of shape it a little bit and hold it all together. Okay, which we're going to move on straight to. So if you can get scales around, make sure our cloak is going to be black. And we're going to measure out 4.50 grams of black this time. Now this little bit will test your moulding skills, if that makes sense. So it's not just a simple shape. Afterwards you can then change it a little with your fingers as in the shape of the cloak. I like to give it a bit of a colour. It's completely up to you. Let's see how you do. Obviously this will make sense as you get through it. Perfect. Okay. Right. With this then, we don't actually need the scales for a second, so I'm giving it a little space. Start off with a nice smooth round ball again. And all we're going to do this time, we're going to roll it into a little bit more of a sausage. The measurements, you can obviously use your creator card's ruler on the back there. And it's going to be roughly 7 centimeters. Give or take, okay? Now, like I say, it doesn't have to be perfect. We can change this and you can mold this as it goes along. It's just kind of a guide. So if you can roll it out nice and smooth, as always, not too much pressure, to around about 7 centimeters. And then all we're going to do is gently press down and flatten it out. Okay, so it's obviously going to get a little bit longer. Gently working the way along, trying to make it flat. Now don't go too heavy-handed straight away. You don't want fingerprints in there too much. What we're aiming for is to have the shorter side, so this length here is ideally, roughly, around about, just double checking I've got the right measurements here, around about 5 centimeters. So I'm going to generally work my way along, squaring off. It's basically going to be a flat rectangle-ish. And again, bearing in mind this is a cloak, so it doesn't have to be exact. The lines down the sides don't have to be exact. If you really, really want to, you can use your tools to level it off. But like I say, if you make it a little bit larger, it's absolutely fine, because you're going to wrap it around Harry's body. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'll bring it off just so you can see what sort of size we're looking at. You see how I don't actually have flat sides, I've got kind of wobbly. All I'm going to do now, I'll wrap around. Now this is going to be my front of him. All I'm going to do is wrap around, bring it round to the front. And if you can see, I've got it so it's kind of level with the top of him. Still quite a gap around the front. All I'm going to do is wrap it around, but leave it open at the front so we can still add detail on later on. So wrapped it round, and then you can We'll just tidy up around the edges as if he's got his cloak open. As you can see, around the sides here, it tidies up around the bottom as if he's got his cloak on. Okay, so it's left open, ready to add bits to. Now I'm going to put him into my airtight container now, just to keep it fresh for later on, keep it kind of still soft and fresh at the top so I can add the head. I can still add all the other bits on later on. Okay, pop that in. Obviously, if you're really struggling with something like that, a little bit of clay, struggling basically once you have gotten to the point where you want to stick things together and it's not sticking, a little bit of fresh clay. If you're working with grey, a little bit of grey on the top, or even a little bit of black. If it's hidden, it doesn't matter. Fresh clay will stick to fresh clay. So if you've got a head and a body that doesn't stick, a little bit of fresh on each side, and they will then stick together. Okay, right. We are going to move on to onto his head now. Then, and we're going to mix some white, some yellow, and some red together to get the flesh colour. Okay. Again, scales on. We are measuring out 3.8 grams or 3.80 grams of white clay now. Fantastic. Okay. Onto the yellow. And the yellow is going to be 0.5 grams, or 0.50 grams of yellow. And then finally, our red. We're just going to have a pinch of red. Excuse me, sorry, dropping things. Just a pinch. Now the red, we can add a touch more. If you're not happy with the colour that you get originally, you can add a touch more. So I'm taking a pinch, just between our fingertips, pull a little off. It's just going to be a small ball. Add all three together and give them a good mix. Okay. Now this is going to be our flesh colour. We are going to save some, so again you could add put a little into your airtight container for later on. Another little tip is, if you are working with us for a little while and you end up with empty pots, these are also airtight containers obviously, so if you're only working with a small bit of clay, if you've got a couple of these lying around the house, they class as airtight containers, so you'll be able to keep little bits of clay in them nice and fresh as well. So in this aspect, we could use that as well if need be. Okay, I've got my flesh, my pinky flesh colour. I'm going to measure out 3.50 grams of this. Okay, I'm going to use this as his head, and then I'm going to save some more. The rest of it for hands, nose, things like that for later on. So 3.5. Oops. Fantastic. So I have 3.5. So technically, I've got some spare clay left over. Put that into my airtight container, keeping it away from everything else. Fantastic. Okay. Let's get his head ready then. Rolling into a ball as always, nice and smooth. No lots of bumps. Okay. Now I'm going to let you know now it can get very tricky, this next section. Okay. Very delicate. Details. Okay, so as always we're going to be working with smaller amounts of clay. It's a little bit trickier and a little bit more awkward, but don't worry, we aren't going to be adding straight onto here. So if you make a mistake, a little bit of clay is going to be wasted, and then you start on a little bit more. If that makes sense. We're going to do his glasses, then his eyes, and then we're going to stick him onto his head. Okay. Now, I would suggest before his head starts to dry out that we put a mouth on there. Now it's very difficult to put his scar on straight away, but what we will do as soon as we've done his smile, we'll try and get his eyes done as quickly as possible, which then gives you a spot to get his little scar on. So I'm going to put a smile on now, obviously towards the bottom. At the same time, trying to be as delicate as possible so I don't squish or change the shape of the head. So whilst I'm working with my other hand, trying to be as delicate as possible. So I'll put a smile on for the time being. Okay, so I've got this. Ideally, whilst you're working, the smile is facing up. Okay, so what I'm going to do now that I've got that in place, I'm going to put him into the airtight container whilst we do his glasses and his eyes. Okay, again, wanting his head to be as fresh as possible. They're done. Now his eyes, like I said, are a little bit tricky, or his glasses. We're going to start with the black, then we're going to add the white over the top. If we work our way through it, the clay is going to, or the measurements of the clay is going to get smaller and smaller. Okay, we're going to start with a tiny pinch of black. Now I would normally start with a 0.05 on your card. Even smaller than that would be better. So if you've done a 0.5, I'm going to split that in half. Now mine was a little bit bigger than 0.5, so what I'm going to do, now I've got a little measurement, I'm going to split that in half again. Just using my tool, cutting it evenly. Now ideally, these balls are exactly the same size. If they're slightly off, it's not too much of a problem. They weren't very good, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to split that in half, get a better half. So as we're working down, our glasses should be the same size, our eyes should be the same size, and make them nice and even. Okay. Once I'm happy with them, I'm going to press them down slightly. Give me 2 flat circles. So the next step, once they're done and you're happy with them, as always, lid on your clay for the time being, grab your white, and this is going to be an even smaller pinch of white clay. Again, from a ball, I'm going to split that, make that even smaller. Maybe once more. Again, once you're happy with that, flatten them out as well. So they're going to be very small, but then they need to go in the middle of the black. Press them down a little bit. And this is how we're starting to get the effect of the glasses. The black is the frame, the white is his eyes. And then the next colour will be the blue eyes of Harry. Okay. Again, we're going to make our way down lighter and lighter. Okay. Less and less. So we're going to now use a tiny, tiny pinch of blue. Again, roll it into a little ball so I then can snap it or cut it using my tool. Again, making sure, trying to have both measurements the same size. Like I say, it gets very tricky trying to keep things as even and as small as possible. Okay, give that a little press down. Okay, now that we've got them done, I'm going to get them onto the actual model itself, just so we've then got an area to work with. So again, carefully, we're going to grab his head. I'm going to place his eyes on now, very carefully. My glasses are looking very, very big today. Everybody's is going to be slightly different, which is the main thing. Everybody has to understand you are going to measure things slightly different, press things down slightly different. Everyone is going to be slightly different. Okay. Okay. I have eyes, glasses. Time to put that little scar in that we spoke about. Okay, so just above his test, I hope everybody knows which eye this is. Above his right eye, I'm going to do a little tiny Z. It's like a lightning bolt. Again, don't press down too hard, just make a little indent in the clay. You might need to ask mum or dad or whoever's helping you out maybe do that, okay? So I've got a little scar above his right eye now, okay? Take a pinch of that spare flesh-coloured or pinky clay that we left in the airtight container. All we're going to do is take a tiny, tiny pinch of that. You can see where his nose should be, between his glasses and down a little. So I'm going to just take a little tiny ball. I'm going to pop that on now. And then all we're going to do is the detail for his glasses, which are again tiny bits of black clay. Oops. Put his nose on now. Okay. I'm going to pop them on the side. We're basically going to do that straight away. I'm going to put my flesh clay back into my airtight container again. I'm going to grab my black clay again. Now all we're going to do with the black clay, another tiny pinch, 0.5, maybe even smaller again. And all we're going to do is roll this out to make the thin frame for his glasses and then the arms, okay? So I'm going to roll this out into a sausage. Again, trying to make it as even as possible without pressing down too hard. You may need to, I've obviously got way too much here at the moment, so wait. A tiny little bit for the frame of his glasses. Sorry, the bridge. Put that on straight away between the two black parts of the eye there. And we're going to do the same down the side of his head now, using the same clay. Now this bit will be changed slightly, or hidden slightly should I say, once we do his hair later on. So the actual arms of the glasses don't need to be perfect. We should be looking something like this now. Okay. Time to add that on. So I'm going to add his head onto the body now. So I'm just getting his body out of the airtight container, and we're going to now place that on top here. Like I said before, if it's struggling to stick, a little bit of fresh clay on either side will help. Oops, like that. Stick that together. At this point you can alter his cloak slightly if you want to bring it up a touch. But what we're going to do now, we're going to do his scarf, which will go around the base of the head and around to the front, okay? I'm just going to tidy up my workspace a little bit. Remember, keep everything nice and neat and tidy if you can, so you don't get extra bits of clay sticking on areas that you don't want, okay? So this is roughly what we should be looking for at the moment. We're about to move on to his scarf, okay? I'm going to put this away again, airtight container. We're now going to work on his scarf, which, as you can see, if I can bring the other one up, lots of little yellow and red dots. Now what we're going to do, we're going to measure out around about 8, 9 of each colour, stick them together, squash them down a little bit, stretch them out and around, and then we'll place it onto his neck and move it around. Okay. Okay. So the measurement that we're going to go with is roughly 0.5 on the card. If it's a little bit smaller, it's absolutely fine. as long as each one is pretty much the same sort of size. I will basically work my way along. I'm going to do, let's start with 8. The measurement in total, once you've got them all together, needs to be pretty much 12 to 13 centimeters ish. But again, if everybody wants to do if you want to do your scarf slightly different, it's absolutely fine. If you want to have a shorter version, if you want a really long one, it's absolutely fine. If you decide that you don't want to do yellow and red, again, it's your choice. Okay, so I'm going to get started. I'm going to get cracking on my 0.5-ish measurements. Like I say, I'm going to go for around about 9 of them. What we're going to do, we're going to alternate between red and yellow. So red followed by yellow, followed by red, and so on, so on. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly, tiny little pinches. Like I said, the measurements don't need to be exactly 0.5, but I know roughly that they are very close. That one's a smidge big, so I'm going to take a little off that one. I'm going to do exactly the same with the yellow. Once I do the yellow ones, I'm going to start sticking them together as I go along, shaping them. Getting my scarf ready to be added. Okay, so that is 8. I'm going to do an next one just in case I need it. I've got 9 little red balls. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to swap over to the yellow clay and I'm going to do exactly the same. As I do this, I'm going to put them together and then we will wrap them around his neck. Okay, so again, same sort of size as the one that we've just done on the other, with the red. If they're not exact, it's not a problem. So red and yellow together, I'm going to just squish them together a little bit, and we're going to flatten them out as well. Not a problem if they aren't exact, so we can get them stuck together. I'm just basically going to put the little balls together and move them along. I have opportunity with the knife to shape them, or your tool, should I say, to shape your scarf as we go along. You can see I'm just slowly working my way along, adding each one. Nice and flat as well, like I said, working my way along. Okay, so if you are finished, roughly something like this, okay, I'm going to take my tool now and just kind of press against the sides to kind of give it more of a rectangular, square shape, whilst pressing down on the top to stretch it out a little bit more. Okay, again, everybody's is going to be slightly different. I'm now going to add it onto his main body. Like I said before, it is going to wrap around his head, come around to the front, and hide under his cloak. So I'm going to start at the back in the middle of my scarf, around the front. Hopefully I don't break it like I just have done. Gently tweaking, gently squishing, Gently putting it where you need it. If you need to bring your cloak around a little bit, it's absolutely fine. So this is the time you can then use to tweak him around a little bit. Open his cloak a little, close it a little, how you want. Okay. So I've got my scarf on. Something like that. Okay. Again, I'm now going to put him back into the into your airtight container, just so we can then pop the hair on, which will then stick, and then keeping the sides fresh for his arms as well. Okay. Back into the container. We're going to move on to the hair now. Okay. So we're going to mix his hair, and we're going to use our red, yellow, and blue again. Back to the scales for the measurements. I'm going to start off with 1.30 of yellow. Oh well, very, very close. Fantastic. Then we need 0.40 of red. So 0.40 of red. Throw it on the floor instead. Perfect. And finally, our blue measurement is 0.20 or 0.20. It's got its own mind today. Fantastic. We're going to mix all three of those together. We should get a nice brown for his hair. His hair will have a little bit extra clay for us to add or build his wand at the end, and there probably will still be a little left over. So once we've mixed this together, we're going to measure out his hair measurement, which is going to be 1.50 grams. So like I say, once it's fully mixed, 1.50. If it's slightly under, it's not a problem. Should have enough with a 1.5. And still having spare clay. Again, you can pop that into your airtight container, or you can just leave it on the side. We will be using it shortly. Okay, I'm going to mix his hair into a ball. Okay, now what we do with the hair, again, it's one of those ones where you can mold and shape it how you want. We'll give you a guideline. We kind of just do a simple brown hair look, and it's up to you if you want to change it around, kind of tweak it at all. So as usual, starting with the ball, I'm going to gently press down, make it flat. It's going to be roughly inside the, I believe, 3 centimeter or 4 centimeter diameter sort of thing. So I will use, I'll get it kind of, I like it pretty flat and even. So we're looking for a disc, maybe even a little bit flatter at the front. Like I say, this is his hair, so you can shape, mold, do as you want once you get it on. Okay, so I'm going to put that on now. It's going to cover the edge of the glasses. It's going to try not to cover his scar. You want his scar to still be showing at the front. If you want to bring it down a little bit with sideboard, it's completely up to you. Like I say, your hair, your character. Cliff if you wish, do some lines, use your tools to kind of make it look like hair. A little bit of decoration. Okay, I'm happy with that. So hopefully something, like I say, kind of along these lines. Up to you how he's looking. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, again, we're going to do his arms pretty quickly now, so I'm not going to bother putting back in there into the airtight container. My clay is pretty dry, pretty fresh still because it's been in that container. If yours hasn't, and again you're struggling, let's say we might use that tip again about extra the fresh clay in between the two to stick together. Okay, right. The arms itself, black clay, again using a bit of that flesh colour that we saved in the airtight container will be for the hands, and then a small bit of brown for his wand. So I'm going to actually do the wand first. I'm going to take a 0.5 measurement using my creator card. Now all I'm going to do is roll that out into a little wand shape, very tiny. If you want to do something with this, if you want to point one end, it's absolutely fine. Again, your decision on there, so I've just rolled it out. Okay, I'll leave that for a second. Still got some spare clay. His hands are going to be measured out to be, using the flesh, 0.2 grams. So if you want to get your scales on again, 0.20. And then finally, the arms are going to be back to black colour, and we're going to measure out 0.30. So 0.30. I'm going to do that twice for his arms. What we're going to do with them, we're going to roll them out into little kind of sausages. I'm going to kind of shape them around his body slightly. Okay, lid on. So we'll roll them out roughly around about 2.5 centimeters. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. Use your card if you have to. If you want to just go by looking at the shape of him, where you're at, again, gently, not going too heavy, not too hard to start off with. Try getting that even. All we're going to do is add the hands on at one end. If you want to give the hand a little bit of definition, some fingers, just pop some little marks on there if you need to. Now to get the wand in the right place, kind of have to place it between the hand and the body, maybe catching the edge of the cloak. So I'm going to put on, we generally put it in his right hand. Whether you want to put it into his left hand is completely up to you. Again, your choice. All I'm going to do, I'm going to place my left arm on in the right place, bringing his hand forward, kind of touching the front of his cloak. Same with the other side, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and put the wand in his hand, just gently pressing down a little bit, so it's kind of, and then I'm going to again do the same again, place it, the shoulder in place on the cloak, and bring his arm round, and then pin the wand round to the front. Okay, so. And there is my completed Harry Potter. Okay, so that's the main build done. It's time for free play really, where you can build extra, add to him, build alongside him, do something different. Okay, we will normally use 1 gram of every colour. If you want to use 5 grams in total of just one colour, it's absolutely fine. Like I say, it's 5 grams of free play, and spread that out amongst the colours however you want. On a side note, if you have struggled today with the scales and you want to maybe drop down to try the Key Stage 1 version, where we use spoons to measure, you're more than welcome to. Obviously, you can get hold of your spoons if you don't already have a set at claycreators.com, and then just try the Key Stage 1 version. Absolutely fine, not a problem at all. Okay. Again, if you are running low on clay, again, same place, claycreators.com to order new clay. And again, parents, if you are interested in worksheets, activity sheets, word searches, things like that, again, head on and download anything extra that you want to use. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. and we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome to another Clay Creator build. Today's model is our version, our key stage 2 version of Harry Potter. Hopefully he'll look something like this towards the end. To build him, obviously we're going to need our scales, we'll need our creator cards, our tools, all our clay, and hopefully if possible you have an airtight container, maybe a lunchbox, Tupperware, something like that to help keep the clay fresh during the build itself. Okay. Before we get started though, I'm going to go over the key facts about Harry. Hopefully there's some new information here that you can use, maybe take it with you along with our activity sheets, word searches and crosswords. You can do that later on. Okay, so fact number one, all the Harry Potter books were written by J.K. Rowling. Her and Harry share the same birthday, which is the 31st of July. Okay, fact number two, the 7 Harry Potter books have sold over 500 million copies since 1997. This is obviously making the Harry Potter the best-selling book series of all time. Fact number 3, if you didn't know, Harry and the students travel to Hogwarts, their school, through a magical entrance at King's Cross Station. This is obviously in London, and as a tribute, at the real train station there is a trolley disappearing into the wall on platform 9 3/4. Okay. Fact number 4, in the books Hogwarts is located somewhere in Scotland. Fact number 5, Daniel Radcliffe, who plays Harry Potter, he went through 160 pairs of the framed glasses he wears during the films, obviously just breaking them during filming. Fact number 6, J.K. Rowling is the first person to become a billionaire from writing books themselves. Okay. Fact number 7, child actors would do their real homework in the Harry Potter movies in an effort to make the school more realistic. So when you see them in the film doing their homework, they're actually doing real work there, so it looks like they're really, really learning at the school. Okay, and finally, fact number 8, Daniel Radcliffe, he also broke about 80 wands during the filming of the Harry Potter films. Obviously just using them, he'd use them often as a drumstick. So he's broke about 80 sets during all the filming. Okay, so that's all the facts finished, and we'll get started with the build.